there'd be no one in front of me. And my wife doesn't want to listen to me anymore, so I'm glad you all came out today. And thank you to Mazda and the Philadelphia Marathon for giving me this time to speak to you today. Now, usually when we run, I have a running group that I run with for a number of years, and we always give the 5-minute rule. So if you're supposed to meet at 10 o'clock and you're not there by 10:05, we generally leave without you. So we're going to waive the 5-minute rule so we can start on time today. Again, thanks to all of you for coming out today. I'm Joe Muldowney, and began running and racing in about 1976. And I just want to, without boring you too much about me, I just want to kind of give you a little bit of my resume and I guess why they asked me to speak here today. As I said, I started in 1976 running, and so I've been doing this about 36 years or so. And my resume contains about over 500, I guess, road races and 50 shoe marathons. Tomorrow's going to be my 53rd. My best time way back when in 1983 in Boston, I ran 2:22:54, which kind of seems like a very distant memory at this time in my life. Almost 2 years ago now, about a year and a half ago, I wrote my book. It's called Running Shorts, and of course I'll be selling and signing books afterwards, so I'd be more than happy to sign one for you. What I did in my book was I just kind of did in a longer version what I'm doing today, just kind of recounted some of the things that I've experienced in 36 years, probably the same things you've experienced, and just kind of put it into book form, give you a little bit of advice, a little bit of history of the running boom and what's happened since then. And so that's kind of something that I'm proud of. Just one of those things where people say, gee, you should write a book about that. And so I did. So, writing a book was the easy part. Getting the book out to people is the more difficult part. So, as I said, that's another reason why I'm glad you're all here today. I guess probably though the reason that I'm speaking here today, 2 years ago at the Philadelphia Marathon, I'm currently now 59 years old. And you know what a great thing, being 60 will be next year. I'm going to be a new age group. So, not a whole lot of redeeming value to turning 60, but that's, I think, one of them. So, 2 years ago, I was very fortunate here, I think. I wound up breaking 3 hours. I ran 2:58:56. And that kind of, as all of you know, when you have a good race, it just kind of makes you want to run another race because you think, yeah, I know I can go faster. So, I guess that's why I'm here to kind of give you some tips that have helped me, and hopefully they will help you. One of my favorite quotes comes from that great philosopher that some of you remember, Groucho Marx, who once said, "Growing old is something you do if you get lucky." So I think that running is something that keeps us from getting old. And some of the things that I think about is, we're so dedicated to this sport. And I think when we go to reunions, or when we go to, when we go to the mall, or any place in public, and we run into people who are our age, and we just think, man, those people just look so old. And so I think it's kind of a preservation type thing that we're involved in, and I think it's worked out pretty well. Now, the other thing that I'm seeing a lot of today, and I'm sure you're seeing a lot of, you go to a race, and sometimes you would do better if you were in the 20 to 24 or the 25 to 29 age group than you do in your current age groups, because runners are getting older. I mean, the people who started in the running boom are now in their 50s, 60s, and 70s, and they're running some tremendous races because we're kind of in uncharted waters. Nobody really raced when they were older, when it was the 1950s or 60s or 70s. So this is just kind of a whole new ball game. And when you look at some of the statistics, in 2008, there was a 60-year-old Japanese runner who ran a 2:31:19, and he broke the world record by over 2 minutes. What you're seeing is just a lot of really, really good performances, and I think that what that tells all of us is that, age really doesn't matter. You get out there and do the proper training, and you're going to be able to run well into your 60s, 70s, and beyond. And I have a couple personal stories there. We did an expo down in Myrtle Beach in February, and I ran the Myrtle Beach half marathon down there. I felt as though I was running a very good race, and as I turned around at the halfway mark, I saw a gentleman in front of me, graying hair. That's another thing. We kind of tend to think that everybody's older than we are, and they're probably thinking the same thing about us. So I saw this gentleman, and I thought, well, this is the guy I have to catch, because he's the guy in the 55 to 59 age group that I want to beat, because I want to win it. So as I finished, I ran 2:30 flat. Excuse me, I ran a 1:30 flat. And I was very, very happy. And I said to my wife, I said, what about that guy who's in front of me with the gray hair? Do you think he's in the age group? She said, well, you know, he might have been 60. I said, well, that's good. That's really good. He's not in my age group. She was wrong. He was 70, and he ran a 129 something or other. So that's my first example. My second example, I was on the losing end of both these examples, so maybe I should think of some better examples. I was up at the Wine Glass Half Marathon about a month or so ago, and I was really, I looked to my right, and I saw this woman running next to me, and I mean, literally I kind of hyperventilated, because it was Joan Benoit Samuelson, former world record holder, and she's the first woman to win the Olympic marathon. And I also have I have another story about her that I have in my book, because when I ran my best time at Boston, and I was coming in, I was turning the last corner, and I heard this great cheer in the crowd. I think, wow, they're all cheering for me. Why? Because at that time, there weren't that many marathons, so we weren't finishing up near the top, even if we ran 2:22. Well, it was Joan Benoit at the time, who was like 9 seconds ahead of me, and she was the first woman. She broke the world record there. So as she came up to me in this half marathon, I said, Joan, it's you. I said, I write about you in my book, and obviously she could care less. But I ran with her for a while. Very, very gracious woman. At that marathon, half marathon, excuse me, I wound up running a 128, and Joan Benoit, at age 55, wound up running a 126. So, believe me, men and women, there is no age barrier. I mean, the people out there are just tremendous these days. Finally, on this Thursday, Wednesday evening actually, I'll be going up to Berwick. And those of you from Pennsylvania probably know about the Berwick Run for the Diamonds. It's the 103rd running, and it's run every year on Thanksgiving. And they always get a contingent of runners from Canada. Well, this year, I forget how many times this gentleman's run it, but Ed Whitlock, some of you may have heard about Ed, he'll be there again this year. Ed's 81, and in Toronto this year, I want to get it right, at age 81, he ran 3:30:16, 81. And he's running the Berwick 9-miler, and it's not an easy course. Okay, what about some of the facts, some of the things that the naysayers will tell you? Number one, you're not going to ruin your knees. If you're about 250 pounds, 300 pounds, and you're carrying that extra weight around, you're going to ruin your knees. Statistically, and again, they're doing this now because they now have the sample group of runners who run since the 1960s or 70s. Statistically, non-runners have a much higher rate of knee replacements and knee injuries and knee problems than runners. So don't even worry about that. You might get knee pain. Just be smart about it. That's just not a true fact. And I always say that, you know, if your heart is beating at the low rate our hearts are beating, I mean, you know, think of your car, think of your washer. If you're doing a lot more loads of wash, and if your car's putting a lot more miles on it, it's gonna die more quickly than if not. So I just think that you know, you're not wearing out your parts as quickly, and I think that's a good thing. Running increases your clarity. It increases, it's an all-natural relaxant, and I think, as most of you know, it's an all-natural laxative. I went a couple years ago. I did my annual checkup at the doctor, and he said, "Well, you know, you haven't had that colonoscopy yet." And my doctor happens to be a runner, which I'll tell you about later on. And he said, "Well, you know what? As a runner, you know, you're probably pretty regular, so you probably don't need it." So, but I think as a precaution, I'll probably have to do that pretty soon. All right. So, what I tried to break it down to is what I call my 12-step program. Now, again, you take what you want from this. I mean, some of the things I'm sure you probably already know about. Some things might help you out. But again, in a few minutes, I'll be happy to take your questions. First of all, I mean, simply put, running, it increases the chances of you living a longer life, and it increases the chances of you having a better quality of life. Those are the facts. Those are the statistically proven facts. So you're doing the right thing. You're on the right track. My 12-step program for longevity starts with rule number 1, and that is to absolutely, positively enjoy this. Enjoy it. You're doing what you want to do. Maybe someone played football or basketball in high school, but they're probably not playing football and basketball at our ages, if we're in our 50s or 60s. You are. You're running. In a couple of days, it's going to be Thanksgiving, and I mean, let's be thankful of what we're able to do. That we're able to go out there and do this. Last 2 weeks ago, I coach at local Penn State campus, and my team was up running at Lake Placid. It was 7 o'clock in the morning. It was 9 degrees when I went out, and I ran. If you've ever been up there, it's called Mirror Lake, and I go out, and I mean, it was so calm. You know, you literally could hear a pin drop. I look to my right, there's the lake. I look in the back, there's the mountains. Hundreds of people are running and walking, and I'm thinking, really, does it get a lot better than this? I mean, it was just the most enjoyable experience, and I think that's it. When you go out there and you're the first one to put your feet in the sand of a nice, hard-packed beach, or you go out there on that snowy day and it's the first footprints in the snow. I mean, that's unique. Those are the things that I think you should enjoy. The other thing is, I just put my talking points on here. Go urban, go rural. I mean, there's nothing, city walking tours. This morning I ran past Independence Hall and the Liberty Bell. You have places like Boston and Charleston and Philadelphia here, New York City. Go out for a run. I mean, I go out and scout for restaurants and breakfast places to eat. Just enjoy that. And then, of course, rural. I'm fortunate that I'm in a rural area. And, I mean, the past couple of weeks, I've probably seen 20 deer, turkeys, occasional bear once in a while. Do that and enjoy that. Go rural, go urban. And you'll just enjoy your running a lot more. There's countless stages out there. And one thing that we're not going to do is outlive the number of stages that we have to run on. So, I mean, just go out, just enjoy it every day. It's tremendous. Rule number 2, youth. And that youth thing, we're not able to get it back, but we can get it back in a lot of different ways. The thing is as you're realizing, as you get older, there's not as many of us around to run with. People have dropped off for whatever reason. So at some point you're gonna reach the stage where you're probably training with people who are younger than you. If you're training with a group, you're training with people who are younger. I think that's a great thing. I've never really ascribed to the loneliness of the long distance runner. I'm a social runner, and from the time we start our workout, I'm talking about something. So I think to run with somebody is a good thing, and I think that when you're running with younger people, it feels good to motivate them, to pass on some of your advice to them, and that's what I try to do, and I think that's a good thing. Sometimes we'll go on a group run where we have people, high school kids that I know, or college kids in their teens, all the way up to people in their 60s. And it's the most democratic thing you could possibly imagine, because there is no age difference. I mean, we're talking about our splits, about dogs, bugs in the air, the heat, the cold, whatever. And again, there's no age barrier there. Last week, there was a colleague of mine, and she's in her 30s, and she was very proud because she had run her first 12-mile run, and she started only about 7 or 8 months ago, so she hasn't really run yet in the cold weather, and so she told me all about her run, and then she said, I finished, and on my face there was some nose stuff, and there was some snot on her face. That's what it was. And I said, well, you've got to know the proper snurching technique. You know, you got to do one of these. So I mean, you know, a non-runner I don't think could really appreciate that story, obviously. So I mean, but it's the little things, it's the big things that you can pass along to people, and I think that also keeps us young and helps us to keep this going on. Rule number 3: accept and embrace. Like I said, a lot of people, I don't think a whole lot of people like getting older, but you know, we are a group of people who, you know, when that age turns, when you get a 5 on the end of your age or a 0 on the end of your age, it's a good thing because you're in a different age group. Embrace that. You know, look at the big picture. A lot of people out there, as I said, I'm 59. A lot of people have trouble walking across the parking lot. So I think that you know, embrace the fact that we're doing something really, really unique and really great. So don't look at age as a negative. Look at it as a positive, and look at it from the standpoint of the new challenges that you have, whether it's an age group. I've long since, you know, worried about winning a race anymore, but to me it's about, you know, leveling the playing field, beating people in my own age group. They also have those age-graded races now, and like you get sort of a credit for being older. So if you find one of those, you could win. So try that, but just embrace it. Rule number 4, and that's change it up. I mean, I've been doing this so long, but I really like what's out there now. You know, you got the mud runs, you got the Warrior Dash. There's more biathlons and triathlons than ever before. You know, run a race where it's point to point. You got to run up a mountain, or a beach run or something like that. You got the Halloween race. You got the beer races. You know, where you can stop and have a beer along the way. Go to an exotic location. Oh, I have to plug this. I'm doing this next year, and this just looks so cool. It's called the Run and See cruise vacation, and I mean, we go to like in December, the end of December, we go to like 9 different ports of call, and we get to run at each one. We have 2 races at the end. Yeah, do something like that. Change it up, because you know, you're just not running the same old road races or the trail runs. If you ever look at, and again, wherever you are in the country, there's a gentleman from the Reading area, Reading, Pennsylvania. He owns Pretzel City Sports. This guy has the most unique, crazy races, and they're fun. It's just fun to get out there and do a different race. Changing it up like that, I think, also helps. Rule number 5, speed does not kill. Speed does not kill in our sport. Do speed workouts. I don't care how old, how young you are. I don't care about the frequency of it, or I don't care about the speed. Get out there once a week, once every 2 weeks, once a month. Go to a track, find telephone poles on the road, or whatever you want to do to change it up, to go fast, to go faster than your race pace. And again, you all know I'm not telling you anything you don't know about intervals and things like that. I love mile intervals. Well, I'm right, I don't love them, but I mean, mile intervals are great for you. You know, I'll do a 2-mile warm-up, I'll run a hard mile, jog a half mile in between, then I'll do a second and a third. I'll do anywhere from 3 of them to marathon training, I'll do 8 of them. So I just think speed work is great. It just changes things up, and it makes you faster at whatever distance you run. And then rule number 6 is just the opposite, the long runs. You need to, all of you are here running the half marathon or the marathon. You've done the long runs. The long runs are essential. Every once in a while, I'll talk to somebody who enjoys the challenge of running a marathon, or enjoys hearing about the challenge of running a marathon. and they've not put in any runs over like 10 miles, I mean, maybe you can do it, but I don't think so. So I think long runs, psychologically and just, you know, aerobically, long runs are essential. Doesn't matter if you're just running 5Ks. Long runs are going to make you stronger. So I think that's a very good point as well. Rule number 7, and it's one that I don't always adhere to, and that's rule number 7. I call it give it a rest. Definitely need rest time. Now I've sworn to myself that I'm not going to run until Friday, and I'm going to take Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday off, and I'm going to really enjoy Thanksgiving and my wife's home cooking, and then I'm going to run on Friday. However, 2 of the kids on my cross-country team told me they want to do a speed workout on Wednesday, so I'm not sure that I'm going to actually adhere to that rule. But you really do need to take time off, and I mean, a fact of life is it does take us longer to heal now, so take time off when you have to. Don't worry about it. It's not going to set you back that far. So just do. Oh, the other thing that my other point that I had here is, and I just know that some of you have experienced this. We are not real runners, I think in general, and runners as we get older, we're not real compatible with doing other stuff. When I say that, it's like if I put in a long, hard day of gardening and lawn work, I'm gonna be real sore the next day when I run, and you know I might reach for that weed and feel something pulling in my back. So, you know, if you're gonna get in that, your son or your grandson, you're gonna do that pickup basketball game, or you're in the softball league at your job or at your church, you know, maybe take a day off from running, because we're pretty good at running, but we're pretty incompatible with other things. So that's another time when you really should take a rest. Rule number 8 is really enjoy. I'm loving this 21st century. I'm just loving it, because again, I come from the days where, you know, I used to walk out the door with my stopwatch and my sweatpants and sweatshirt, and well, I used to write everything in my running log, but actually I still do. But you don't have to do that anymore. You can do all the stuff with the GPS watches. Embrace everything. 2 years ago, I got on the internet. I picked up an ultrasound machine and an electric stim machine for $100. They were 2 of the best investments of my life. I mean, I'm walking around the house with the electric stim thing on my back, you know, and the ultrasound on my knee. It's just great. You got your high-tech clothing. You got your shoeless shoes out there. You know, embrace them. Do all of them. I mean, just, you know, I'm looking at I put down here the patches. I love those salon pause things. I don't know if you ever saw them. I'm not promoting them or plugging them. I just like them. They cost like $4 a box. Just slap them on, and they're tremendous. Monitor everything. Oh, drink more water than you've ever drank before. Keep a copious running log. Use GPS technology whenever you can. iPods, running apps. Get any high-tech toy that helps you or entertains you. It just makes your running life a lot easier. So I'm really, like I said, I'm really liking the new technology. Rule number 9: eat food, not products. You know, if it's colorful, eat it. The American Cancer Society, 9 fruits and vegetables a day. Try it. Adhere to it. It ain't bad. It's not a bad thing to do. And I've never adhered to vegetarian stuff or anything like that. Moderation. You know, a steak once in a while is good for all of us. A steak 6 days a week probably isn't. You know, even that craving for a Big Mac, it's not going to kill you once in a while. My college coach said to me, you got to put fuel on the fire. And you guys being half marathon runners and marathon runners, you know, you're burning a lot of calories. Our fires are burning really hot. Eat. Don't cut yourself off from eating. But again, you know, hey, Twinkies are going to be gone now. So, you know, you probably don't want to eat a whole lot of Twinkies. But like I said, if eat food and not products. I love my garden. I grow stuff in my garden every year. And you know, when we get to that point where I can get the lettuce, the tomatoes, the cucumbers, and the peppers out of my garden, that's a great time of year for me. So do that. I think that's really important as well. Rule number 10 it's really helped me. I talk about it in my book, and I call it assemble your team. You know, yeah, we're superhuman.
I mean, we're superhuman to be able to do what we do, but we are not invincible. And I think a team of your physicians and your healthcare professionals are very, very important. I'm extremely lucky. Well, first of all, make sure that you have a physician that knows that when they take your resting pulse and it's way less than room temperature, that you're not legally dead. That's your first rule. If your physician tells you that you're pretty much on the verge of checking out, I would go to another physician. Do that annual checkup. Listen, we are not, sadly, none of us are immune to the twin killers of cancer and heart disease. Get that annual checkup. Get your EKG. Again, I tell a story in the book of a friend that I've been running with for 30-some years. He won his age group, 50 and over, in a triathlon 2 years ago. 4th overall in the triathlon. Sat down on a rock afterwards and said to his wife, "I think I'm having a heart attack." And he did. And but he got into the ambulance and into the life flight and made it back. That was 3 years ago in August, and he just completed a full Ironman triathlon 2 weeks ago. So, just be careful when it comes to that. My primary care physician, he's a 4-hour marathoner. My urologist he's a competitive tennis player. My chiropractor, who I swear by, he is a former professional football player, and my podiatrist is a competitive cyclist. So, I mean, those people, they kind of they're the glue and the duct tape that holds me together. Orthotics. One thing about orthotics, you've been running long enough, and I'm sure probably a lot of you have experienced this. Orthotics are probably something you're going to need. You need to just level out. Everything starts at the feet. You need to level out your feet and make sure that you're okay there. Rule number 11 is pump the iron. What we do is great from the waist down. It's tremendous. But, do some upper body stuff. 20 minutes a day, 3 times a week is all you need to do. You know the deal. You don't want to build bulk, so you want to go with low weight and high reps, and also work on the bellies, planks, sit-ups, crunches, because strengthening the abdomen helps the back. So don't be afraid to do that. And finally, and then I'd like to open it up to your questions. Finally, rule number 12, the last one. And rule number 12 is there really are no rules. I mean, obviously you guys are running the half marathon and the marathon. So what you've been doing, you're doing it right. Running is it's a hybrid of ideas. And it's trial and error. Try some things. If it works, keep doing it. If it doesn't, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So whatever's working for you, keep doing it. If you can walk away from here today with a couple of ideas that I may have given you, then I've done my job. I'm very happy for that. So just keep doing it. And I will tell you that I'll give you my Joe Muldowney guarantee that if you try some of these things, they will work for you. They will keep you in the sport longer, and they will keep you in the sport faster. Finally, there really is no retirement age in this sport. Like I said, some of the examples I gave, you can keep doing this a long, long time and keep doing very well. So keep enjoying it, keep competing, and there's no finish line. And all of you are here and are proof of that. So I'd like to open it up to questions now. Again, a couple different things. Before I do that, though, again, I'll be signing books in the back. Also, if you want to give me your email address, I do a blog. I love giving advice. And like I said, I hope I can be helpful with that. And I have cards with my website on. I have an advice column on my website. So, I don't know where Mazda is. She said she passed the microphone around. But okay, all right. Questions, please.
Joe, first of all, thank you, especially for your top 12. That was very helpful. As we continue to run through the years, how important do you think cross-training, such as stretching, yoga, swimming, is to the sport?
I think it's really important, and I'm guilty because I don't do enough stretching, but I think it's extremely important. And again, you know, that repetitive motion of running, you know, eventually will kind of wear out the same things. So I think if you're cycling, swimming, particularly if you're injured, you know, if you've got the knee, the lower back, the hip, or whatever, you know, do something different. And yes, stretch both before and after. And like I said, I'm not a good example of that because I don't stretch enough. I get yelled at a lot by my wife and my daughter for not doing that, but it's really, really important. I would highly recommend that. And that's what I said in that, you know, in changing it up a little bit. I mean, you might be out cycling, you really enjoy it. And recycling race, you know, and again, swimming, if you've got a debilitating injury, and you know, swimming is just a tremendous quality sport. So, yeah, thank you for that. That's important. Anyone else?
Yes. What do you think of G running?
I don't know that much about it, so I'm really not qualified to say that much about it. But all I know is that there are a lot of people who ascribe to it. So, but like I said, I've never done that method of training myself. So, sorry, that's one I don't know that much about.
First, good luck tomorrow. And do you happen to know the age breakdown of the people in the marathon tomorrow?
As far as numbers of people in age groups is concerned, I don't know about tomorrow, but I just know statistically prior to this, the upper 40 age group I think was the most. But again, you see that what I talked about before, that the greatest number of people in the marathon are 40 and above. And there's less people in their 30s and 20s. But I don't know the numbers for tomorrow.
I have a slight sore knee. Do you recommend running with a brace?
I did. I had I do and I did. I had a tendonitis problem last year. I was supposed to run the marathon here last year, and I ran the half. And I did wear the brace. I mean, as long as it doesn't irritate you too much, but I mean, you know, put some Vaseline or something around there. But, you know, if it doesn't irritate you and it doesn't seem to impede your stride, I would strongly recommend it, because as opposed to getting out there and having it lock up on you. Yeah, I would definitely do that. Yes.
Yes. I have a two-part question. Yes. Is there anything that you did when you were younger that you kind of regret as far as running that kind of hampered you and I guess allowed you to be injured at this point? And second part is, what did you do with that injury and how did you deal with it?
One of the really dumbest things that I ever did, and I guess that could be a variety of things that I've done, but one of the really dumbest things I did, I ran in a 24-hour relay when I was probably about your age, and that was, we had a 10-person team, and each person ran a mile around the track, and we wound up running 27 miles in a 24-hour time period, and that consistent running around the track, I had the ligament problem there. So I would definitely not recommend participating in a 24-hour marathon. But the thing that, now in the days that, you know, when I was running in the 220s, I mean, I was running 90 to 100 mile weeks consistently. And I mean, I don't know what the cumulative effects of that are. As far as myself personally, it's kind of the lower back, and my feet are just, they're a mess. Toes and all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, you know, maybe possibly a little too much mileage, you know, in the lower back. But I mean, I think I've just been fortunate that I've never really had a debilitating injury. My worst injury was I was out running, it's about 12 years ago now, and just the top of my foot started hurting a lot. And it just almost felt like I had tied my shoes too tightly. And wound up the next day, my foot was swollen twice the size, and I just had broken a bone in my foot. But there was no rhyme or reason to it, it just kind of snapped. So, I mean, I think maybe be judicious with too much mileage would be my advice for longevity. But like I said, for myself, I've been knees haven't been a problem.
The new equipment, like the Vibrams, this barefoot running thing I hear about, what's your take on it? I don't know.
Well, again, I know people, again, of all ages. My friend who's about 56 years old, he swears by it. Personally, I'm cautious. I like having a little, I like lightweight shoes, but I like having support on my feet. So I think that's just one of those things that if it works for you. I just can't imagine with all the rocks and obstacles out there, and I run a lot. And when I think back to your question as well, I think part of my running longevity is I run a lot off-road. I run a lot because I live in northern Pennsylvania. We have a little more trails, a few more trails. And so, I mean, I'm thinking with running off-road and a lot of rocks and things like that. Personally, I'm not that sold on them, but a lot of people are. I'm not saying they're bad. The question is, what shoes have I run? I've always had success with Nikes, and I stay with it. I've worn the Air Max Motos from Nike, and I just haven't gotten injured. So with me, I stick. That's another little bit of advice. If you find a shoe, a brand of shoe and a style that you like, and you don't get injured by wearing it, order 3-4 pair at a time. Because they change the models, and I'm not sure why they do that. But I like to stick, have 3, 4, 5 pair in your closet. It's not a bad idea. Now,
hi, I didn't start running until my late 50s, and I've done 1 half marathon very slowly, and I'm here. My eyes are kind of lighting up with the idea of the full marathon. I'm running to enhance my longevity and my not wanting to challenge it. Is this a crazy notion that I should be putting away, or would it be life-enhancing and helpful?
number one, it is absolutely not a crazy notion. I think it's a great notion. Number two, I'll say to you, having started later, my best days are behind me, your best days are ahead of you, so that's a good thing as well. My only advice, and again, if there's anyone out there in the audience who has run half marathons but has not yet run a marathon, my only advice to you is you must incorporate that longer run. And when I say a longer run, what I do, my plan is I always count back 13 weeks from the marathon, and I throw out the last week, because the last week you should be resting. So basically it's a 12-week plan. In that 12 weeks, ideally if you could get 3 or 4 long runs in, that's what you need. Now, I'll qualify, long run would be from 15 to 20, 15 miles to 20 miles. That's your only difference. If you can do that, if you can do even 3 of those, you're ready to run a marathon. And that's the only component of your training that has to change as far as going from a half marathon to a marathon. It's essential to get that longer run in. Again, it's not only physical, but it's psychological. Like if you get out there and you do a 20-mile run and you survive it and you feel okay, you'll be fine on marathon. And then your only thing on marathon day is find your pace and stay on it. My 2 things about a marathon are you need your long runs and never let the genie out of the bottle. When you let the genie out of the bottle, you're not putting it back in. So don't go out there, if you want to go out there tomorrow at a 9-minute pace, please do not run that first mile at 7:30, or that genie's gone, it's never coming back. So pace is the key. And again, I'm not telling you anyone else to get over that. So, but no, that's a great, good luck to you. I hope you do. Anyone else? Sorry.
How much different is the shoes for trail running than regular on asphalt?
Generally, the trail running shoes are a little more, I guess I'm going to say, rubbery on the bottom, a little thicker on the bottom, a little less flexible. And I've not worn them. I mean, I just wear my regular shoes for trails. But if you're running more than 50% of your runs on trails, then I would say get a trail shoe. But they're going to be a little less flexible and heavier. If you like a real light shoe, they're not good for you. But they're going to keep those rocks and objects away from the bottom of your feet.
Yeah, hi. I'm doing my first marathon. What's your advice on feeding during the run?
Again, I don't. What I try to do is definitely stay hydrated. That's important, the water. I try maybe the first 2 or 3 water stops, I don't take anything. But then I, put the little V in the cup and I try to take a couple swallows at every water stop. Now the gels are good. People have, and as I told you before about the 21st century, but that's one where I stay back in the 20th century. I'm just worried that it'll do something to my stomach. But the gels are good. A lot of people have those gels, use the gels during the race. So I would recommend that. I mean, it's not going to hurt you if you take a bite of a bagel or something like that. If you feel that your glycogen is going down, you're a little lightheaded or something like that. So I mean, if you have a bell, that's fine. I mean, you want to do what's going to keep you going out there without doing too much to the belly while you're out there either. So it's not a bad idea. Thank you so much, and I wish you all best of luck tomorrow. Thank you. I know it's like what the old comedians say, but you've been a great audience. But you really have been a great audience. Thank you very much, and good luck to all of you. I'll be here a while. Just stop back and say hello.